So welcome everybody to this second part webinar on our series on ChatGPT sorry, webinar. So the first part was about tracking and indexation using log analysis. And this part will be a bit more hands-on with strategies on how to appear in ChatGPT search results. And today I'm with John. I'm happy to have you today, John. So if you want to quickly introduce yourself.
Yep, happy to be here. My name's John Campbell. So currently have the role of Head of AI and Innovation at Roast. So a bit of context, Roast is an agency within the TP group. So we're based here in London. We got an office in Cape Town as well. So my old role was the head of the SEO department here at Roast. Done a few things since then, a bit of voice technology, bit of innovation, and now heading up AI and innovation, the team here. And so hopefully we've got some actionable insights and some things for people to think about today when thinking about optimizing for AI visibility.
Yeah, thank you, John. And on my side, I'm Jérôme, part of the customer success team at Oncrawl. I'm a senior tech SEO, used to be tech SEO in-house for years, and I joined Oncrawl 4 years ago. And we didn't mention, John, that we've been discussing for a couple of weeks, almost months, on this topic, and you've been using Oncrawl as well, the log feature. So yeah, happy to discuss this further today. So just before we start, we will have a replay just like the first part. You can ask questions. So we have a dedicated tab at the bottom. And yeah, feel free to ask your questions during the webinar. We might answer live if we see the questions, or we'll take some time at the end to try to answer everybody. Actually, we'll try to keep a bit more time than last time to make sure we answer as many questions as possible. And the agenda today. So I will start with a quick recap of the first webinar in case you didn't see it. Also, you can watch the replay. I shared the slides on LinkedIn earlier today. Then we'll discuss the ChatGPT search ranking process and see where we can act and some strategies you can do. A focus on visibility tracking tools and how to best use them and how to choose them, basically. We'll end with key takeaways and the Q&A session. So quick recap, what we've learned last time. So it was the main focus on the logs and those bots OpenAI is using to feed this search feature from ChatGPT. So the two key bots to monitor are ChatGPT user, OpenAI search bot. They both tell us a lot about how visible you are in ChatGPT, how many questions you have that ChatGPT is using to answer users. The fact that you can block ChatGPT bot but still appear in ChatGPT search results. So this one is about AI training model. Yeah, and you can use this ChatGPT user visits as a key visibility metric. And this is something you have been doing. John, you also published an article on this topic. So yeah, same for OpenAI search bot. You can track it to prevent some indexation issues. One key thing is also that traditional technical SEO, everything about indexability, accessibility for the bots still matters on this AI search. And the fact that you can also track ChatGPT traffic with your logs. And then you can combine all this data and to monitor your efforts and identify ranking patterns. So a couple slides. So maybe I will zoom in now. That's from the previous webinar. So just the process, what happens when you ask a question with search activated. So ChatGPT is going to turn your prompt into a search query, and this search query, or multiple search query actually, and this is sent to Bing to get search results. And at the same time, part of these search results will be crawled by ChatGPT to gather the content and write the response. and it's going to include citations, but also the full list of search results. And this is something we can actually leverage to see how it's working and what's the actual ranking model behind it. And on those links, you can get clicks, of course, you can drive traffic. So just about the bots, OpenAI search bot is working on improving this search model. So he's like sort of pre-ranking and pre-selecting for some key topics to make the results better, basically. And it doesn't work live. It's not at the time somebody is asking a question. On the other hand, ChatGPT user is really in real time, and he's there, is sent to gather the content. Which brings us to this chart, and this is what we will cover today mainly. So the sort of the 3 steps to get from the user prompt to the response and to actually rank. So first, since ChatGPT is using Bing, mainly Bing, you need to be indexed and ranking in Bing. Then, since we know that he's sending a bot to gather the content, you need to make sure your content is accessible to this bot. And we'll see what you can do about it. And then there is a sort of a ranking model because he's not selecting the first results. It's not always the top results in Bing that are being cited in the response. And this we'll discuss a bit more. Something you want to add, John? Or
no, obviously this is the first stages. This is all very new that everybody in the industry is looking at this moment in time. And there's a few things that people are looking at is like, when it goes over to Bing to ask this information, is it doing any localization? Is it changing any settings, etc.? So there's still, this is a good overview, but there's still a lot that we need to learn about this process overall. But I think from where we are at the industry at this moment in time, this is a good idea. And then the other thing is, that's the current partnership. We don't know how that partnership will change. Also, people have observed local. When it's done local stuff, it's bringing back Google results.
yes.
And then as they create more partnerships, it might go, oh, you're asking information about stock information. Oh, we're going to go over to a partnership that we have with Reuters. Or it might say, oh, you've got shopping information. We've got a partnership with Shopify, etc. So still very, very early on, but this seems to be the core flow that they follow, and it'll be interesting to see how that deviates with those partnerships and language modifications, etc.
Yeah, actually, when we worked on this webinar, we had news and updates last week, and we had to include a couple more slides to discuss this. Yeah, so it's changing fast. So yeah, on this ranking in Bing part. So obviously, first step. I mean, I wasn't doing Bing SEO at all until ChatGPT, to be honest. And so I went through the process of accessing this webmaster tool. So it's like the Google Search Console for Bing. It's quite easy to create. So since there is an import option, so you get your GSC properties in a couple clicks, and you will be able to explore what pages are indexed, ranking pages, keywords, etc. Being able to submit a sitemap. So it's really the same thing. A couple of things are a bit different, such as the API, which can be useful. On your side, like, yeah, you have things to share, John, on your best practice and.
Yeah, it's obviously not a lot of people have concentrated on this and looked at it. There's a couple of things there, which is they have a tool that can basically do a crawl of your website. So
Yes.
it's what Oncrawl does or what the other tools can do. The only thing there is that it's using, you'd assume it's using very much the same fundamental technology that their crawler's using. So that could flag up one or two things that you've not seen before, and again it will flag up, oh, you got a missing H1 tag, you got a missing tag here, there. It's nothing that none of the other tools would do already, but it's interesting that it's provided from them and it's their tool that's indexing it, etc. So yeah, I think the thing that will be interesting would just set this up, make sure you don't have any major flags in terms of blocking, etc. And then I think a bit later on, I think there'll be some interesting stuff, which is looking at a comparison of what has Bing indexed versus what Google's indexed versus what ChatGPT is indexed. And I think that could be an exciting report in the future. And you're basically trying to get parity between all of those three different platforms indexing your content.
Yeah. And also a great thing you can do and start doing is accessing this keywords data, because in ChatGPT, we don't have a tool that will tell you what the prompt data is. I mean, we've heard of some tools doing that, but I mean, this is not data that is provided by ChatGPT. But since you know that the prompt is actually transformed into a query that is sent to Bing, I mean, you could look at your pages that are making traffic in ChatGPT and look at the keywords they're ranking on Bing and see sort of the correlation. Also, most likely it's going to be long tail keywords because of the way people are prompting. But yeah, there's some just assumptions. Another great thing about Bing is that they use Index Now IPA, and that's an easy way to ask Bing to index new pages. So you can use the built-in integrations or the plugins. As you can see the list, so Shopify, WordPress, some Wix as well. They have built-in, so they will send directly the new pages, the new content for indexing. Also, it's easy to build a script, so it's a request, HTTP request, and you can do that in bulk. So actually, I'm going to publish a small script to do that with Oncrawl, asking Index Now to index your latest, your newest pages from your latest crawl, basically. You've been using that with some of your clients, John?
A few, yeah. I think where you've got a CMS that's on that list and it's just a plugin. So we installed it as a plugin on lots of our WordPress websites, and it's an easy thing to do. I guess the question would be, are you publishing content faster than, at a high rate, and where, you're a publisher and the fact is that you need your content to get into the index as quickly as possible, then Index Now is probably going to be more of a necessity for you, versus, maybe if you're a site that doesn't, publish content as freshly, you can just rely on then Bing coming to index it on a regular basis. I'm not aware of a study where somebody's done before and after. There's probably, as in with SEO, somebody's tested it. If not, somebody obviously could test that now and say, hey, since we've done that, that's helped us. But the theory here is that if you get your content indexed quicker and ranking quicker, then there's more chance of then it being surfaced by ChatGPT. So it's kind of that knock-on effect. The limits, I think it's like 10,000 URLs a day. There's no cost to it. It doesn't seem like a hard thing to do if you've got one of those plugins, and even then it's a script and it can be done without dev time. If it could be done externally with, as your crawler, Oncrawl grabs those new URLs, then it could send them over to the platform. So if I was a publisher, I'd definitely look into this as a technique.
I have a client in my portfolio, job board, in the job industry. So they were already using Google's API, which works for the jobs. But since they had this practice, they did the same with Index Now. And in terms of crawling of new job details, they have good results.
Yeah, and I think we spoke about the shopping. So shopping is kind of coming, and ChatGPT doesn't at this moment in time look like they're going to be using a merchant feed, which is traditionally how Google has ingested shopping data into their platform. And so if they're relying on, going to Bing to get products to then look at that information, that could be something that e-commerce websites will want to look into as well. But again, still early days on how the shopping results are being sourced, etc.
Yeah, just to say something, it doesn't guarantee your page is going to be indexed. It's just that you send sort of a ping to ask Bing to come and visit the page. So it doesn't have to. It makes things easier for Bing, basically. Okay, let's move on to the next slide. So content accessibility. So having your bots, having OpenAI's bots crawling your content. So first thing is that the 3 bots, they do not render JavaScript. They will focus on the raw HTML. And this is a big difference with Google. And so you need to make sure that your key content is available in the HTML. So yeah, basically, if you're in Chrome, if you look at the source code, you will see what the bot sees, basically. You can also use your favorite crawler and crawl without JavaScript rendering to verify your content at scale. And this is, I guess this is a key changes between those new, and I guess it's the same for other AI search engines. They don't render JavaScript. Yeah, John, you had...
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, this is that conversation that SEOs have been having with devs, and obviously they say, oh, well, you know, Google can render it, therefore we don't need to do pre-rendering, or we can keep our navigation or this feature in JavaScript, etc. So this kind of, in a weird way, is like a step back, but it's, these tools are brand new. They probably haven't got the same rendering resources and technology as Google. So yeah, if you've been having that conversation about saying, oh, let's make it easier for any crawler to come to our website and not having to do that rendering job, then yeah, this is another kind of tick in that box on that side of things.
Yeah.
Again, it's early days. If OpenAI and Perplexity and all the different tools start to use more of this live kind of data, they may update their crawlers to be able to render JavaScript, but at the moment they don't. And then even if they did, they probably do something with Google where it goes into a backlog or a queue, etc. So yeah, again, it's kind of, if you don't need to use JavaScript to render your navigation or different types of content, don't bother doing it.
Yeah. Last time in the previous webinar, I mentioned that from what we see on our clients' data is that OpenAI's bot, they keep crawling 4.4, but they also follow redirects. This is what we've been seeing in the data. So this opens up for sort of a quick win. So what you can do is use your log and identify the pages in 4.4 or other client servers, and you order them by highest crawling volume. So if those pages are visited by ChatGPT user, it's to answer somebody. And if OpenAI search bot is visiting them, it's also to improve the search results. So what you can do is create a redirect mapping and redirect those 4.4 to relevant available content, or you can create a new page if necessary. So, I mean, since OpenAI search bot is not crawling that many URLs per day, and ChatGPT user, he's coming and, I mean, if the content is not available, he's not going to use that content to answer somebody. So it's like he needs that page to answer right now. So it's really like a quick win you can do. And what's funny is that he keeps coming on those 4.4. So I guess there will be a filtering part from Bing, because Bing is likely not to rank those 4.4 pages, but OpenAI's bot are also following links. So yeah, this can be an easy quick win. And also internal linking. So same way you look at your top visited pages by those bots, you can use those pages to rank and boost pages discovery. So yeah, you identify those pages that are being crawled a lot and that are answering in status 200, and you put links to other pages on the same topic, and you do like some semantic linking strategy. And this can be also a good, a quick win to get ChatGPT grab your relevant content, basically. Something else, John, or should I move on?
No, I was just thinking about that last slide. I had a question about the kind of the redirect mapping. Yeah, if you've done that redirect mapping anyway from Google, or it's the same URLs, I guess the only thing that will be different is if you're doing that migration and you're doing that audit and looking at, you know, does this page have a value? there could be randomly a page that Google never visits, you've not got any traffic to, you've not got any backlinks to, but just for some reason, ChatGPT goes to it. It might, the crossover of the URLs that Google is going to be using and ChatGPT are going to be using are going to be very, very similar. But that's one of the things that people might need to start to think about in a year or two's time, maybe 6 months in a year's time, is that when you're doing your audits, are you going to have to then audit, is this page live? How many visits? How many links to it? How often has ChatGPT visited this page? And it might be that in the future you could have a page which has got high value from ChatGPT, but it might have low traditional search value, etc. So something we're going to have to think about going forward when we do our migration audits, etc. But yeah, if you've redirected from a Google point of view, user point of view, it's the same redirect that ChatGPT will use.
Yeah, of course. It's not something you do specifically for ChatGPT. It's just that you sort of leverage this data you have and put some redirects on key targeted pages, because ChatGPT keeps crawling them. Also, I came across a LinkedIn post earlier previous week, and somebody mentioned that ChatGPT might do some hallucinations also on writing the URLs. So that might be also the explanation on why this bot suddenly crawls pages that don't exist. So 2 things you can do: create the page or redirect to a page that exists and should be similar in terms of content. The llms.txt. So is it useful? We had this question on the previous webinar. John did add this llms.txt on the Rose website. I went over the whole data we have access to. No bot hit at all. I mean, it seems that OpenAI's bots are not crawling these llms.txt files. We had the question on the chat 2 days ago at Oncrawl, so from a user not understanding why there is no bot hit on this llms.txt file. Probably because OpenAI doesn't care. So yeah. Maybe it will be at some point, but yeah, so far there is no.
Yeah, I just see this as a step backwards from the technology, is that their technology has the ability to just go to your website, crawl it and understand it. And so the amount of effort just to educate all the webmasters out there to create this brand new file that you don't already have, and the chances of you creating it and getting it wrong, etc., it just seems like yeah, it's a lot. I don't think people quite understand the amount of effort to try and get webmasters to do this. And you're trying to sometimes it's really impossible just to get one file uploaded to your server. And so I think the platforms won't want to have a specific piece of text which is going to be optional that could make or break the way that their services work. And yeah, they've already kind of said, hey, we're going to comply with robots.txt rules. So I guess they'll do something in that if they did anything like this. But yeah, there's no need to use it. It's on the Roast website if you want to have a look at it. But as we said, none of the platforms have crawled it at this moment in time.
Yeah. And just to say about robot.txt, we have, when we look at the logs we have access to, they are actually hitting that robot.txt a lot of times per day. Each bots, GPT bot, OpenAI search bot, ChatGPT user bot, so they're all hitting this robot.txt file. Also, they're crawling the sitemaps, XML sitemaps. So this might be traditional SEO might be better. Yeah, something else, or should I?
No, I just think from a product point of view, the people who've made these tools will obviously say, hey, there's an infrastructure that's been there of robots.txt, sitemaps. So much of the web is being powered by WordPress, which majority of people have used Yoast. So they're going to use that infrastructure that's already there, rather than trying to get webmasters to create new pieces of content or new infrastructure that's going to help them crawl. Yeah.
Just see somebody saying that the connection is getting quite bad. Get somebody, no issue on your end? Okay. Let us know. Seems good. Okay, well, anyway, there is a recording, so you might catch on. Okay, content relevance. So last step, this ranking model. So when I ask myself, how do we rank now? What is the key factor? And I was discussing with OpenAI's support team, trying to understand. They wouldn't disclose exactly how it's working, but like this word relevant is everywhere in the documentation, in the presentation, in the blog, in the answers from the support team. So they say that they select relevant links, they select relevant web pages to answer a prompt with search. Now the question is what relevant means. And so, but really like content relevance, relevant content is the key ranking factor for sure. And actually there's a way to dig into this data. And actually this is something John shared on LinkedIn. You want to demo this quickly?
Yeah, so let's basically see how we do this. So essentially what you need to do is go to ChatGPT. Hopefully you can see my screen. Let's ask a question. So what's the best play mat for a baby? And you want to do this with search enabled. So this is obviously going to load up an answer, and it's going through that process that Jérôme spoke about before. And while it's doing this, what you want to do is you want to just grab the start of this ID, because we're going to need this in a second. So it's going to put some information. See, it's using personalization there, which is another topic. What you want to do is you inspect, go to your network tab, filter by fetch, yeah, and then just reload, and then take that ID, and you're looking for this file. So this file essentially contains in a JSON structure all of the information that's going into loading up this result. So you can quickly grab this, copy it, go to this URL. It's on this URL, chatgpt_debugger at weareroast.com. The HTTP certificate is just coming through. And so, yeah, obviously this is all very mucky, hard to see, but we can quickly see that this has got 15 domains, 16 safe URLs. We can see some information. Still needs a bit of work, but the main thing here is that you can start to see, oh, these are the domains, these are the URLs, these are the safe URLs, etc. So this is still kind of progressing, and what we're seeing is that the JSON file, the payload that comes back, is evolving, and we'd expect that to evolve with maybe the shopping results. But I guess you can explain what those URLs are.
Yes, so we'll share the link. Actually, John is planning to make an update because this JSON file is also changing with the updates. And on my side, I did a Google Colab script to parse this because I wanted to do something a bit different. But so when you look at what's inside this JSON and how it's structured and how the URL are available, you can see that some are named search results. So those are really the search results from Bing gathered by ChatGPT for the prompt. So you have the search results. Then you have two other types of URLs. So you have main citations URLs used directly in the answer, and it's called sources footnote. Actually, what's called supporting website at first, but there was an update, and now you have sometimes multiple citations. And you when you hover, you can scroll left and right in a carousel. So the main citation URL are here, and the other ones are in supporting websites, and that's how it's organized. You also have two other types of URLs, and this is more related to personalization because you are logged in. So you cannot do that. You cannot access this JSON if you're not logged in, by the way. You need to log in and be able to refresh the page to access the JSON. Yeah, so those three ones are really the key ones because it's going to help you identify what is relevant. So remember, your prompt is sent as a query to Bing. You get search results, and then ChatGPT will select what it finds relevant. So the relevant URLs are the ones that are in the sources footnote plus the supporting websites. And all other search results, they are not relevant enough. for this prompt. So really what you can do, you can test some prompts, parse the JSON, and then you can compare your relevant list versus your non-relevant enough list of URLs, and use your favorite crawler to extract title, description, H1 structure, content, structured data, the n-grams as well. And then you can try to compare the content gap, what is unique on some of the pages. You can also look at the last update, because we know that also ChatGPT is trying to get up-to-date information. And by doing this process, and that's really the key, you will be able to define what is relevant and find some best practice, things you need to do, how you can improve your content. And you can do that even if you're not ranking at all, just by looking at what competitors are doing. I mean, we don't have we're not going to tell you this is working and this is not working. Like, it changes a lot depending on the industry, the verticals, the type of search, type of intent. Now we have shopping, which is also changing this JSON structure. You mentioned earlier, John, that there is partnerships as well. So now it's Bing, and for shopping, it's Shopify. So yeah.
Yeah, we don't know in the future if they'll go, oh, for these types of queries, we're not going over to Bing, we're going over to here. Or it might go, we're going to Bing and we're going to this other third-party source, etc. So I think that's why it's really interesting that JSON file is that's something that we should be monitoring, see how it changes. Are they putting new things in there? Are they not putting new things in there, etc.? Because you can start to kind of backwards engineer to see what they're doing. And yeah, as I mentioned, you have to be logged in. So then the other thing that you'll see is personalization. So if you set up your ChatGPT account with some personalization, that gets thrown into the results as well as
Yes.
On the settings. You can try and do it non-logged in, but the JSON file that comes through is a streamed one, and it's really hard to package back up into one JSON file. Somebody smarter at coding than me may be able to do that. But yeah, I think this is a good way for just to kind of check things out, etc.
Just to show you, so I did this small script here. So you run it, and you can copy paste your JSON file. I need a JSON conversation. Wait, hold on a second.
Live demos.
Okay. Why is it not working? Wait. Let me reload this.
The other thing I was going to say while you're reloading that is that you can go into any of your previous conversations. So it's a conversation that you've had previously with ChatGPT, click on it, inspect, grab that file, stick it back into this tool. But some of the older JSON files might be slightly differently structured.
Yeah. Now it's loading. Okay. So up. Sorry. Window. So you see here, I'm just copy pasting the JSON, and then it's parsing. And here, first I'm getting a CSV file with all the data that I want to collect, and then just a simple list. And what I did as well in the script is sort of do the comparison between main citations plus additional citations against all the search results. So I get my list of relevant URLs and not relevant enough. So this is what's being used for the prompt, and this is what's not being used. And this was actually in the search results. So this way you can actually find what is relevant in the eyes of ChatGPT for the specific prompt. You can do a lot of tests, and this way learn what is working, what is not working, and try to crack the ranking model. Something, So I guess that's the key thing about ranking in ChatGPT. So we don't know yet exactly how this all works, but it works don't forget, it's an LLM. It's not really a ranking system like Google, for sure. So of course they don't have the same resources. They might, so don't jump into conclusions too early as well. Like for sure they are not going to look at the backlinks because they don't have this data of netlinking, of course. But they also have ChatGPT that has been trained on the web for years and knows some of the brands, doesn't know some other brands. And this is also going to impact the results. So sort of your reputation, authority on specific topics, etc. Maybe let's move on to the next topic because it will also answer part of the question you might have. So visibility tracking tools now. This is something we didn't cover on the first webinar. And yeah, you've been looking at those and using some of them, John.
Yeah, so basically straight out of once, you know, ChatGPT 3 came out and it like burst onto the scene, the first thing I was doing was like, how do you track this? Because it's you know, you don't know what to do, you don't know how to improve your rankings if you've not got some sort of metrics to track on an ongoing basis. And what we've seen is, you know, there's been an absolute explosion of these different tools that have been available. So just to the top row ones that I've tried out, shout out to the DJAM one, which is free to use. And then we've seen some of, you know, companies that are brand new that have started, that have built these tools, and then we've now started to see some older tools like SEMrush that's been around, you know, for a while, and then they've come into the market. What I would say is, if you're going to be picking one of these, there's a few articles out there. The one from Authoritas has a good review of these, and you know, we're still at the very early stages, so there's no one clear tool that would say that is a market leader. What I would say is that you want to find out how they're gathering that information. So there's a few different ways that potentially they can do it. So ChatGPT, OpenAI make a lot of money from their APIs, and so you can create a ranking tool that basically just sends a query over to the API, grabs the information and pulls it back, and it comes back in a nice structured format. But that's not really kind of simulating that search that I did before. So a lot of these tools are essentially scraping. So they spin up, you know, in the cloud a browser, or somehow they fake an IP address. So it's either UK, US, or whatever country, and then they extract that information. So generally the scraping is something that's going to be better because it's simulating what ChatGPT is doing. The other thing is some of these tools are now deciding whether they click the search button. So when you have the search button clicked, it then gives you back all these citations and the URLs, and it's far more useful. But what we're seeing is the ChatGPT are slightly changing the decision. So sometimes you can just search and it decides to do a web search with search grounding, and so and then other times it doesn't. So if you use these tools and they're not clicking the search button, it just gives you the information. It says here's what the tool said. It doesn't give you any URLs, and it's not useful as useful. What will be interesting is to see if some of these tools go into a method where you can say you can track key phrases where search is always on, and then you can track searches where it's up to the user to decide whether they click search on and off. But as we saw, there's quite a lot of processes going involved. So ChatGPT are not going to want to have search enabled on every single command because it's a lot of processing power, but there's also key phrases that doesn't need that level of search grounding. The other thing is, you know, the results change. If you can get these tools to go 3 or 4 times a day, average it out, that gives you some added data and some more stability. You want these tools to give you a breakdown of the URLs and that information. Some of these tools then go to those URLs, crawl them, and look for the mention of your brand. So that's really useful because then you can say, great, I've got a citation from this URL, my brand is mentioned, etc. And you want to use key phrases that give you good results. So we'll go through some examples later on. If it's like what is or what the definition is, if it's not something that needs that search grounding, you're not going to get much useful information out of it. And the other thing is, yeah, if you can leave it to track for a longer period of time, you'll get more data back. So just one example that just to share the screen, because not everybody has been able to use one of these tools. So let's go over to PEC. So in this example, it's you got your key phrases. So this is allowed us to track 25 prompts. You can see it says our position on average. So in this example, best play mat for kids, it will say, oh, play mat 1, 2, 3, and then that's our position. Sentiment analysis of, you know, is it saying our product, in this example, rock stepper, positive or negative? And what you can do, you can click into these and you start to kind of get a ranking. You can see the recent chats and the sources. Now, what is interesting here is that you can see this one here from ChatGPT kind of comes back and says, oh, it's giving you, but it's asking you for more information. So you've got to be really kind of careful and experiment a little bit with your prompts, because it might just start a conversation, and really what you're looking for is more of something which is going to tell you something like this, yeah, where it's going through 1, 2, 3. But again, in the example here, there's no search enabled, so there's no URLs that are coming along with this. So it's not particularly useful. What you can start to do is you can start to see something like this. No, that's not a good example. Again, it's mentioning it and it's tracking it, but it's not giving us the URLs. Actually, none of these are giving us our URLs. Let's try on Perplexity. Let's go with this one. Yeah, here we can see it's got the sources. So this is the stuff that's really useful now for you as as somebody who's trying to improve your rankings. And what you can then start to see is these are the sources that you're basically saying, right, whattoexpect.com is obviously a trusted resource for Perplexity. And when we click into that, we can see it's got 2 different URLs, but it's this November article, which seems to be used more. So the way that we've been using these tools is to create basically a hit list of URLs and articles that we need to go about at target. So if we just go back to all of the sources, but one of the things we've noticed is that a big player here is like affiliates. So Rockstepper, this brand, doesn't have an affiliate program, and as a result of that, we'll find it really, really hard to get in some of these publications because they rely on affiliates. You know, they make their money from affiliate. The other thing is we've noticed is that this is set up with the UK, but the bump is an American website. So what we're starting to do is that we're using this tool very much as a tool to create that list of domains that we need to go for, that we need to get links and citations from, and we split it into your domains that you own. So that could be, you know, your main domain, but it could also be stuff like, oh, your company description on LinkedIn, or we were looking at a company that has an app, and it was like the app page on the Google Play Store, or the app page on the iOS App Store. So it's that piece of content that you can easily edit and change. How do you change the description to improve your rankings? Publishers, that's the chance to say, right, I'm going to get a link from that domain, or I want a citation on there. And then competitors, that's going to be harder. But yeah, as you can see in this example, the bump is the number one kind of URL to get a citation and link from, but it's a little bit harder than that because this is an American website that only accepts affiliates. We don't do that. So then how do we try to get rankings, more citations on other domains? And yeah, and the other thing that this is where, you know, getting links and getting citations is something that in SEO people do all the time with digital PR or their different teams. But where you might slightly adjust is that the sources will vary. So in this example, I'm not sure if it's cut off the side of the screen there, but this is like 116 different domains and 30 key phrases. And basically what we found is that only 10% of these domains, all 3 platform used. So Money to the Masses, SIP Advice, and Aviva, all of the 3 platforms use it as a trusted citation. But there's a lot of URLs that ChatGPT used that didn't use that weren't being used by Perplexity or they weren't being used by Google. So it's that new list, or you're going to slightly reorder or prioritize that list because you're saying, well, actually, this is a good citation from a ChatGPT point of view, but traditionally our PR team will have never gone after it because they've never seen it. It's not one of the the big publications that has historical heritage, etc. But for some reason, ChatGPT will use this as a trusted domain. The second thing to look at is basically kind of doing some like reverse engineering prompt techniques. And so in this example, you're trying to ask the platform, such as ChatGPT, basically, what's your decision-making process in recommending this product to me? What are the factors and the consumer preferences and the categories that make you recommend this type of playmat? So this data here is from Evertune, and they do it a really interesting way where they ask thousands and thousands of questions to multiple different platforms. And in this example for credit score, it's kind of saying, okay, when recommending a credit score company, the things that we're looking and we're auditing is the accuracy of this credit score companies, the affordability, security, alerts, what's the customer service. And what you can start to do is then you can score it. So you can say, well, how well is X doing? And so this example, affordability and ease of use are two areas where the model's perception of the brand Experian here is saying it's not as good as the others. So now over the next 3 to 6 months, you need to think about, well, how can we create more content that's going to tell the models that actually we are a really affordable product, or we are the easiest to use. So how does that come into our marketing and content plans? So you can do this yourself really, really simply. So you could ask, what's the best playmat? That's your command. You want to rank on, so there you turn that into the prompt of, what considerations are you taking when recommending the best playmat to me? And then what ChatGPT will do is it will come back and say, right, well, these are the considerations I have. Sorry, I keep saying ChatGPT. So it's saying, okay, when recommending a playmat to anybody, it thinks about safety materials, ease of cleaning, comfort, and support. So it gave me a huge list of these things. So then for each one of those bullet points, I'm thinking, do I have relevant content on my website for each of these? My product description, which gets aggregated around the internet quite a lot, is it mentioned in that product description? When I go out to get my external PR and coverage, am I including the fact that, our product is EN71 certified, and those external websites are saying the Rock Stepper mat is great, it's safe, it's EN71 certified, thus getting Rock Stepper and EN71, which is one of the key considerations, close to each other in the text, which goes on to train the models, etc. Can I think about, are there any awards, content campaigns that I can do to increase my association with that brand? And then the last thing to think about is, are there some things that naturally I'm going to underperform on and I can't help it? So later down in this list, when it was talking about playmats, it says the ability to pack away your playmat. And for Rock Stepper, it's a huge playmat. You can only roll it. You can't fold it. You can't store it easily. So naturally, we're always going to be at a disadvantage in compared to other playmats when it comes to that type of things. And so, yeah, there's some real kind of good insights into, the things that the model's thinking about. And then therefore, like, how do I make sure that I'm associated with these things in my content on my website and externally? And then the thought then goes to, okay, if I publish it, how do I know it's been indexed? Go back to kind of, SEO 101 and then tracking your crawling with log file analysis.
Yeah, thank you, John, for these examples. It was really interesting, and actually that's the part I barely tested so far. So yeah, we are reaching the end of this webinar. We'll try to answer the questions. So let's wrap up what we've seen. But maybe just before, let's run through the key takeaways. But I see a lot of questions about this JSON file, so we will re-demo how to do that during the Q&A. So key takeaways. So yeah, first step, make sure your content is indexed and ranking in Bing, accessible to OpenAI bots. That's the first blocker, I would say. Then it's all about content's relevance. And you will be able to study that with examples using ChatGPT itself, trying some prompts. And then you have this conversation JSON file that you can use. Visibility tracking tools, yeah, they are in early stage, but provide insights on key citations. And that's really useful. Carefully select them, try to understand how they work, ask the good questions. Then you can use the domain and URL list as citation, as PR link building hit list, and create content plan by asking the platform the consideration that they are taking into account. So it's sort of what you explained, doing some reverse engineering prompts. But things are changing fast, right? Well, we've seen last week that a couple updates actually changed some of the slides from today's webinar.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if you want to.
Yeah, I guess, you know, if shopping comes in, we know Perplexity are going to do ads. ChatGPT, do they need to do ads when they've got so many subscribers and people using the API? How will local come into it? If they do local, you know, do they want to build an index for all of these companies, or is local search not really a thing that happens on them? So yeah, that is going to evolve over time. And so we were discussing this morning. If you think Google launched with 10 blue links, and then over the years, that SERP has changed so much. So we should expect this new result to change in a similar vein. I guess then there we say, you know, fundamentals will always remain the same, which is going to be relevance and accessibility. And then the big unknown is keyword. We don't know what people are searching for on these platforms. There's no keyword tool. It could be kind of long tail. The other thing is, I've seen some people, like, you know, those people that just have loads and loads of tabs open on their Chrome. There's now a new version of that, which is just a person that just has one long ChatGPT conversation, and they don't have a new tab for a new conversation. So then it's kind of that side of things. We don't know about the impact of my personalization on my account. And we also don't know about stuff like, how's that query getting changed? Is it that exact thing that you say that then goes over to Bing? Or are they doing some processing on that query when it goes over to Bing? So there's still lots of unknowns that are out there at this moment in time.
Yeah. And about what is known so far, so I guess the logs and this ChatGPT user bot, they are already telling a lot. And this data, I mean, you can trust, as long as ChatGPT user keeps hitting your website and some of your pages, you know that he's using your content to answer real questions, real prompts. And it doesn't really matter what the prompt is actually, or the specific keywords. It's more about, since there is personalization at some point, it's also about trust in your brand, trust in your content, authority. So I guess this is going to also impact. I mean, it's going to be personalized so much to the user that maybe sometimes it might be useless to try to think of a volume of prompts or volume of because the answers are going to vary so much between users. So before we move on to the Q&A, just wanted to demo how you get access to this JSON file.
Yeah, so let me just share my screen again. So the idea is that let's just do a new
You
one.
have a conversation, yeah.
Yeah, so what is the best SEO tool out there? We'll just see. So the idea is that there's no single best SEO tool. So there's going to come, it's going to get this information. So,
you didn't activate the search.
I didn't activate search yet. Yeah. Sorry, let's do that again. So yeah, the idea is that you're best to activate the search, and let's do that again. Okay. So yeah, the idea is you want this ID. So this whole ID is the key, and you give it a few seconds. Okay. So you want to right click and inspect, go to your network tab. Most people it will be selected as all. So you want to fetch XHR and then want to reload the page. What you'll see is it's going to reload lots of information. So just stick that same ID in there and that will help you get to this file. And then you want to go to this response tab. And so as we can see, this is a structured JSON file with all of this information in here, etc. You can also see in here that this is the settings from my account. So I've gone into ChatGPT and specifically given it some settings about where I live, what I do, etc. So that is always sent over to the model. So that's why it says, "Hi, John." Or if I said, "Where's the best place to get pie and mash?" it'll know that I live in Walthamstow and it'll recommend a particular location. And then, yeah, we go over to here. You can do one file or multiple. And all this is doing is just extracting out of here into here. But as we mentioned,
yeah, this JSON file is evolving, so maybe the script will have to be updated.
Yeah. But it starts to see Forbes back in the they're obviously not penalized by ChatGPT. So there's all this information in here. There's some PowerPoint presentations. That's interesting. But yeah, so we're working on this, but that's the key. There's some key stuff in this JSON file. So how can we extract it and get it?
Yeah, and that's the key slide of understanding this JSON file. And about safe URLs and blocked, because maybe I went too fast on this. So this is really related to personalization to your profile. So here, let's say you always click on a specific source of information. You always use that specific blog. At some point, it will be included in the safe URLs because it's trustworthy, because you clicked on it and it's in your profile history. The blocked ones is like related to policy reasons mainly. So safety, safe search, etc. Yeah, and here search results. So everything ChatGPT is getting from Bing. So the full list. Actually, you can see that there is a ranking ID. You see here, ref index 17. So that's the 17th search results. And sometimes they use one search query. Sometimes they use multiples. So we might have more search results. And then those two ones are the citations, the main ones, and then the other ones that when you use the carousel, and you do the difference between both, and you can identify what's relevant and not relevant enough. Let's move on to the Q&A. I see 18 questions. Maybe some of them we already answered. Let's do this by order. So, is language a major? Wait, is this the latest question or the first one?
I think that's the first one.
Yep. Is language a major factor in key phrases analysis, or can we consider what? Not sure what the.
Yeah,
I think it works for every language.
Yeah, it should do. It's whether I've not tested whether the citations and the URLs it goes to are in local languages. I assume they would be. I think IP is interesting. Obviously, if you search for one thing and then you change your IP address, you'll get totally different results. But there's no like ChatGPT UK versus .com or like a button that is from the UK, etc. I think what you can do is you can put UK in your query or whatever your country is, and you'll get better results. But I've not checked on whether that changes the sources too much.
OpenAI's documentation says that they are sharing your IP to Bing when they request to get local results.
Okay.
So, but maybe it's sometimes not working. So yeah, because you said that you had this issue with American content versus UK content. So
yeah, and I guess the other thing, and people have talked about this fundamentally, is that the models have been trained on more English content, maybe, just because naturally that's the content that they had available. So there may be just again, there may be this other bias that's come into the corpus training. But yeah, I haven't done enough research in other languages at this moment in time to see.
Okay, so next question is from Maxime. He says he's blocking OpenAI crawlers, but still getting traffic, which I'm a bit surprised. Opening your website. So this is part of the first webinar, actually. So my advice would be at least to open to OpenAI search bot and ChatGPT user bot. You can block the other one, which is for training purpose. But yeah, this will of course should make a difference.
Yeah, we've got one client that's decided to block it, and they're still, as mentioning, they're still getting traffic through. My worry would be that they're not opening themselves up as much as they can, but they're a kind of a publisher, so they're kind of their tinfoil hat a little bit. You know, they don't want ChatGPT to be coming in and scraping all their content when a section of their business is selling that data. And so they're in an interesting position where they actually might do some sort of commercial deal with them. But I think what's happened in the last 6 months or a year is that there's now more of a value to saying, yeah, we're going to let these bots in to come and crawl our website because the traffic coming back. If you're a publisher, that's still a big consideration. But if you're not a publisher and you sell product online, yeah, I'd let the bots come in. The only other thing I've heard from a few companies is that they've been using up a lot of resources. So, you know, if you think in the past you've had to deal with, you know, 3 or 4 different bots coming to your website and crawling and using up server resource, and now you've got ChatGPT, Perplexity, and these other ones. Yeah, but hopefully you should have load balancing on your server to handle that side of things.
Yeah, that's a good point, John. Actually, like this GPT bot, the one that is training the model, this one is crawling a lot of pages from what we see on the log data on our clients, and randomly, and a lot of 404, and a lot of pages that don't exist as well. And so that, yeah, that might be using a lot of resources. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's that question there we've seen there about the hallucination. So I think you mentioned before,
yes,
you could put a 301 redirect to the correct page, or you could recreate that page and then canonical it back, so it's not an SEO problem or something.
Yep.
Okay.
I think you can click on, yeah. So a question from Mark. Isn't it sufficient to send Google sitemap links is possible in Bing console, or do we recommend? I mean, the sitemap, you can submit your sitemaps. The real difference with Index Now is that Index Now is live. When you submit your sitemap, Bing is going to decide when he's going to check your sitemap, basically. And with Index Now is you that decide to tell him that there is an update or there is a new page. So that's the big difference. If we are all referenced on Google, are we well referenced on Bing? Honestly, I don't know. I've seen some differences. I don't have access to many Bing's Webmaster Tools accounts. So I've seen it for Oncrawl's website, for example. Sometimes there is better coverage, and sometimes the opposite. They don't have exactly the same. They don't have the same ranking process, but indexation should be at least indexation coverage should be the same.
Yeah, I think there's now more of a need to track your rankings on Bing. So all the so that's one of the things that we're considering with we use AccuRanker, so they've got the ability to track key phrases on Bing. Traditionally we've not done that just because we want to use all of our credits on Google, and that's something that you might want to consider, that, you know, whatever tracking tool that you use, can you get that parity between the both of them? After 3 months you're tracking it and the rankings are very, very similar, you could assume that there's some parity between the two. Yeah,
there is a free API that you can try to use to build your own tool. with ChatGPT and a bit of Python script. Yeah. I've seen a question. Yeah, this one about the tracking. Really interesting one. So, since if you start using tracking tools and visibility tools, they are going to send fake prompts. So it's going to generate a lot of activity on your websites. It's for sure it's going to fake, just like tools like SEMrush or Ahrefs are doing. They are like faking impressions.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. The other thing is that ChatGPT is also actively trying to stop these tools. To stop anybody from scraping their results. I don't think they're trying to stop specifically Peck and Get AI SEO and other ones. It's probably they're trying to stop the other companies that are trying to build LLM tools. And there's some thoughts that, some of the other companies out there that use that. But yeah, I think it'd be interesting to see if ChatGPT start to basically use feedback and start to develop an algorithm, which is, somebody asked this question, they then click this link, or they then asked again, and therefore, that's a positive signal. So what's the best play mat? The user uses the results, and then in the same conversation window, they say, oh, tell me more about brand X. Is that a positive kind of sentiment to brand X, because the user's now asking more questions about it? What I would say is the majority of these tools are using non-logged in users. So it's whether ChatGPT say, hey, non-logged in users are a free game for us to use their data. Whereas if you're on a paid subscription, one of the reasons we have a paid subscription is because we know that what we ask ChatGPT doesn't go into their training model. So we'd have to see again in the T's and C's if they say, we're going to use your conversations to help improve our rankings, etc. in the future.
This one, reposting. Do we see ChatGPT crawl and respond to real-time search prompts like flight timings? I think so. We are working with some travel websites, especially in the flight industry. So I don't know. I'm not sure I'm understanding the question, but I think if you ask about flight timing with search activated or deactivated, you would get some data. Actually, like those websites, they are making not a lot compared to the traffic they make, but they are making some good amount of traffic from ChatGPT. So far, it's not integrated like with Shopify, but it might be at some point. There might be so I guess plus like the questions and prompts about traveling and using ChatGPT as a traveling agents to help you build your own travel. This is some for sure that there is a lot of prompts volume around this.
Yeah,
so I'm not sure I'm really answering the questions. Maybe you want to add something?
Yeah, I think this is a classic. Like if they do a deal with, and I think they have some deals with TripAdvisor, etc., they're going to want to utilize that, and also resource-wise, it's going to be far more efficient to hit a third-party API versus trying to get that information. I guess if they were thinking like flight numbers, so what's the status of currently BA003 flight, etc. I think they'll just try and find that information, but at some point they might go, oh, we've noticed that a lot of people are now using ChatGPT for this. Rather than trying to go to Bing, get all that information, come back, can we pay or have an integration with this third-party source? And putting my previous job was working with, and still work with Alexa. That's how they kind of did it. They was like, let's build integrations with particular companies that hold that information. So when it was stock information, they used Refinitiv data. When it was flight information, they used this company, etc. So yeah, it's whether they want to have those one-to-one relationships or just try and answer using the core technology, etc.
Will we receive the Python script by email? So I will share it Yeah, we can send it in the email. I need to make a public collab. I'm not allowed, like if I'm going to share the link now, everybody's going to ask to, so I'm going to click the whole day to give access. So I need a public link. So or I will post it also on LinkedIn with just a script, so you can copy paste. So I will make sure we same for the slides. Okay, this one is interesting. Structured data to improve the probability to rank on Bing ChatGPT. So for sure, everything related to, but this is basic, but like date modified, date published. So how fresh the content is. Structured data around products for sure. This is actually it's in the guidelines for Shopify integration. And then it's going to vary depending on the types of verticals and types of prompt and user intent. So I've read things that it's working, that it's making a difference. But I mean, I haven't seen any study right now, any use case, any screenshot of like a curve of clicks going up after. So it's just talks for now or assumptions. So yeah, but for sure it's going to help, and for sure they are able to process this kind of data. Same as the HN structure. So the structure of your HTML basically. So clean HTML, accessible without JavaScript, and structured data is going to help the LLM process the data. Paid ads on Bing impact priority that Copilots or ChatGPT look at. That I don't. Any clue? Just to say, when ChatGPT is requesting results to Bing, they don't use the same interface than we do. It's like a partner API that users don't have access to. So it's not trying to simulate what a user would see on Bing. So I guess there is no.
There is one thing that I looked into, which is where on the ChatGPT API, they have this thing called an I think it's an agent. It's a different, basically it's, you can do an API request and then add an agent to it, and one of the agents is a search agent. So yeah, I might do a post on that in the next few weeks. But basically the idea is that, is it an agent? I can't remember the exact terminology, etc. Or maybe it's tools. Yeah. But yeah, there was something that can get you very, very close to replicating what is happening. And I think there was various tools, and one was like to do a search with a file. But yeah, that's the thing that I've been trying to look into. Is there a way that we can get access to this Bing API? Because if we can do that, then we can start to piece together, oh right, this is the results that are coming in, etc.
John, I think we are not running out of time, but almost. So I ordered by upvotes the questions. So Thomas, this one, sorry. So this one we already answered. Yeah, structured data, hallucination already. Here, structured data as well. This one, best way to track GPT visits. So in my opinion, I would say logs.
Yeah. So I would say a combination of a Google Analytics filter with referral. So referral, so that's when somebody's clicked on one of the links, then come to your website, etc. What that's not going to include though is if somebody comes to your website and then disables, your cookie, and then that does obviously, then if you've set it up correctly, it shouldn't come through. So yeah, log file analysis is a great way of doing that. The other thing I think we got to think about is that people may ask a question to Chat GPT, and then they'll find out about your brand, and then they'll open a new tab and they'll search for your brand. So there's not necessarily going to be that click always. And so that's where some of the visibility tools are trying to basically track, how well is your brand positioned, because we know that if you can be higher in those lists and you can be visible on those lists, you're creating that brand impression, and then the user then can go off and then search for it. But that's where there's going to be a bit of a disconnect in tracking that journey and that funnel. But hopefully, yeah, there'll be those clicks coming through as well. So for all of our clients, we now have these referral reports from GA data, and what we see is some are going up, some are basically nothing's happening, because basically they work in a vertical or an industry where you wouldn't really go to ChatGPT to ask a question about the services that they offer. So it really varies by client at this moment who's getting traffic from the platforms.
Yeah. Another one from Thomas. So are we sure that search results in the JSON parser in the JSON file are only from Bing? Not 100% sure. So they say like the partnership with Bing is official, but like you mentioned, John, for locals, we've seen Google results, Google Maps results. So they have sort of probably a fallback system when there is no results in Bing. They use other search engine, other third parties, and probably it will evolve with other new partnerships and things like this. But at least you know what they look at, and you can see what they select or do not select to answer the question. But yeah, Bing is the main case. Okay, I think we're going to take one last question. If you want to pick one, John, I don't want to be the the bad guy.
All right, okay. Let's have a quick look. We're going through. Oh, we answered quite a few, etc. Let's have a quick look. Oh my, these are some really good, questions, etc. We've asked a lot of these: paid search, Python script, etc. I think we've covered off quite a lot of these stuff.
Yes. Yeah.
So there's an interesting one, which is like, should we start to create content specifically designed to be cited by AI, like concise, fact-based, heavily linked? So yeah, I think this is a real paradigm shift, is that you could start to, I've seen some people saying, can I create content and then based on user agent just 301 redirect to these ones? And I've seen some articles about people saying, there's this website which is being tanked by Google because it's terrible, but it does really, really well in ChatGPT. I think the answer to this is, unfortunately, it's like that: build the content that's best for your users, but make sure that it's accessible and stuff like that. I think the one thing you have to slightly do is, I think, looking through the log file analysis, I've now reevaluated what are some of my more important pages, because they're just some pages that we didn't really often look at re-updating and refreshing, but now we're seeing the crawlers from the AI platforms are coming back to these pages, and so that is something that I'm going to start to look at, is going, this URL, it really, really likes it. We should spend some more effort on adding some more fact-based content, some more schema, some more FAQs in there, some more brand mentions in there as well, because it's something that we didn't look at before.
Yeah, actually, that would be my starting point. Like, start with all the pages that ChatGPT is already crawling. So he knows those pages already. He will come back. Make sure that those pages are optimized well enough. Start with content that already exists. If you don't have that data, or if you're not known, if you're starting from zero, let's say a new brand, I mean, you will have to start with SEO anyway first, in the first place. And you mentioned one thing, that in the end, it's content for users, so not only for bots or LLMs, unless you just want brand visibility and just to be mentioned. But yeah, don't forget that in the end, somebody is going to visit your website to purchase something, or just make traffic if that's your model. But yeah. So, and that's it. Thank you, everybody. And thank you, a special thanks for all the ones that stayed until the end. We'll publish the replay soon. The deck will be published. We'll share the scripts. Yeah. And thank you, John, for your participation today. It was great to have you.
Pleasure being here. Thanks for the invite.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.